Now you can give them solutions whenever they want.
Solutions in the morning, solutions in the evening, solutions at supper time. When solutions are on a bagel, you can have solutions anytime.
All right.
Howdy, everybody.
Hey, welcome. How's it going out there?
All right, cool. I'm Graham.
I'm Ashkan, and we got a special guest with us today, Mr. Derek Wyatt.
The crowd goes wild.
Thank you, everyone. Please contain yourselves.
If you've been living under a rock for the last week and not listening to the other episodes, we're in the middle of a little week of social media. We've had some social media questions that we kind of held on to do a little series of episodes here with Derek Wyatt. He does the social media for Float On and the Float Conference and Float Tank Solutions and helps with our other marketing as well. And I would recommend listening to the other episodes first. They kind of build on each other. So just, if you're actually serious about learning something, then you should start with episode 1.
Or just go find a different podcast. Obviously, this is not not the place.
You come to the wrong place, yeah.
Or just play the intros and move on.
So, today's question.
Hit it. What's our question for today?
How much money is reasonable, I repeat, reasonable, to spend on Facebook ads a month? 50, 500, 5,000? They didn't say it, but I'm just going to go ahead and extend that to $50,000 a month.
$5 million.
You skipped 500,000 there.
No one pays 500,000.
You go big or go home.
You just go straight from 50
Straight
to
to $5 million.
Or 5 million. Yeah. All right. So there it is. What's reasonable to spend on Facebook ads a month?
I feel like every single episode is me referencing old episodes. It's the ones that produce results and actual results that you're trying to accomplish. And I talked about, you should spend money that makes you money. But sometimes you do a Facebook ad and maybe a sale isn't your first goal.
Let me pause for a second here.
Nothing simple, is it? Huh? You can't just give a straight answer. 200.
Just for people to kind of have the fundamentals right. Like, what do you get when you pay for a Facebook ad? We talked in the previous episodes about Facebook limits the reach of your posts. Like, even if you have 5,000 people who like your page, if you just make a post, it's not going to go to those 5,000 people.
So you're going to reach more people the more money you spend. Now, that is sometimes a great thing and sometimes not a great thing because, again, it's about the targeting. So you can reach 2 million people in the city of Portland for, I don't know, let me do some quick math, probably $100,000 or something ridiculous like that. But are all those people going to come running into your center? Probably not. In fact, it could probably create some backlash and some negative publicity because then you run ads to people who have no idea what it is or think it's a scam, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it is. I saw that thing on Altered States. It's going to turn you into a drugged up monkey. And sometimes you don't need that in right away. You don't need to have that mixed in with all the people talking about how great it is. So,
and there's a difference between ads, like you can pay to actually have ads that don't look like normal content in people's streams, right? Like there's actually ads on the sides of
You can do
Facebook.
The sidebar ad. You can do ads within Messenger now. You can do ads, actually in the marketplace.
And you can pay to expand the reach of a post, like an actual post that you made to try to reach more of your own audience.
Little boost post buttons.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you can boost a post to get more reach. Whatever's in your budget. And that's a hard number to say, but everybody's got a different number. So $20, $50. Oh, we did fives, right? So it's 5, 50, 50,000.
You don't have to stick to that.
Let's go $50. $50. Is that enough? Probably not. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. So there's the cost per 1,000 people to reach on Facebook. And so $50 might reach you, depending on the cost per 1,000, 5,000 people to 1,000 people. It's a very wide range of what you can produce based on your targeting. So it's really hard to say what's the right number. I would say, again, what's within your budget, what's getting you a return. I would split almost your budget up into a couple of categories. You have the ads I want to produce actual sales on should have X number of return on ad spend. I want to put in $1 and I want to get $4 back. Then there's some just general awareness ads where maybe it's too far down the realness of actually getting into a float tank, you're just kind of warming people up to the idea of floating, you might want to budget a couple $100 just to kind of boost posts that talk about the benefits of floating, stuff like that. And then once those people are warmed up and call back, you've got that Facebook pixel, you can retarget them, then you can show them a different kind of ad that gets them closer towards the sale. So splitting your budget up and again, going through the life cycle of a customer, getting the people aware of floating, then getting them closer to buy, then actually asking for a sale, whether it be gift cards or just book a float or introductory packs or whatever you're really wanting to actually make a call to action to give money. I would, with the ones that actually are for giving money, definitely be conscious of your return on ad spend.
And for the ones that aren't like just directly related to a sale or something like that, like how do you measure how effective they are, or whether or not you're tossing too much money into something if it's not like you're actually directing them towards a discount or something like that?
I like to do enough ads to get a baseline, what I feel like is good results for me. So, I mean, do a couple $100 in smaller tests, do a lot smaller tests to see actually what gets you a decent amount of results, and then shoot for that and then try to always be improving. And so how much money should you put at the things that aren't necessarily going to give you a result and give you more awareness? What gets you the right responses and reach and engagement that you're looking for? So if you're getting, if a post is quote unquote going viral that you boosted and it just tons of people are piling on, they're tagging their friends, you should check this out, and it's going great, keep putting more money on it because you're actually planting the seed that the floating is this popular thing validated by your friends. And I would put more money behind ads are doing well and kind of fuel the fire than just put a blanket $50 per boost. I usually do smaller tests, $10, $20 to kind of get the response factor. Is it a good post? And then I put more money on it, or I just let it die. Or I turn it off. Sometimes posts are really bad, and I can throw $10 at a post, and 20 people more have seen it and got one more like, and I was just like, what happened here? I just turned the ad off.
Mm-hmm. And so do you always do it that way? Like start with a small amount, see how it's like, see what traction it's gaining, and then decide whether to just cut it off or add more? Is that like a good general practice?
Yeah, and I even do that for organic. So I know we're talking about paid, but I talked about in the past where like I might some kind of fringe content test out on Twitter and Instagram first before I put it on Facebook. Well, the same thing goes. If I feel like things are doing well organically, I'll fuel the fire. And if they're doing really well, I'll put more fuel on the fire. And so I do these little boosts and these little tests initially, and I watch it within the first 2 to 3 hours after I boosted it to see if I want to put more money behind it. Also, when you're doing ads, like the length, how long you want to run an ad, I usually don't run ads for more than like 3 days because, again, I want things to seem fresh and relevant. I don't want to be showing an ad from January 17th today, so there's a lot of factors that kind of go into how much I put behind each post. But always, I usually just start small and then work my way up depending on feedback.
And how often are you spending money on things that it's not boosting a post?
That's not boosting a post, you mean?
Yeah, like the other form, like an actual sidebar.
And after that, how often are you spending money on boosting a post?
Okay.
As well.
So, interesting thing with Float On is we don't run very many sales. And so the ones when I put a lot of money behind paid ads looking for a return on ad spend is when we run our holiday sales. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, I'm not necessarily using Facebook to actually acquire paid customers. I'm using it as more of an awareness platform because I think the biggest competitor to floating we always say is awareness. I'm using it as what it's meant for, a social platform to get people to have a conversation instead of always trying to every minute I put in I've got to keep track of because I got to make sure this is worth my time. Like Facebook is around, it's here to stay. I'm in the long-term game. I'm very contrarian when it comes to like a lot of my Facebook practices because I'm not always trying to boost everything, get in front of a lot of people, do memes that get knee-jerk reactions. I'm like, whatever shows people that floating is something that's going to help them, I'm in it for that. So that's kind of like the long answer to get to the question.
Yeah, and this is a good place to interject too, which is that we, like Derek being a contrarian is very true, not just in Facebook ad spend either. He's just a very contrary person in general.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
And when we're teaching our apprenticeship class in Portland, I usually give this disclaimer for the marketing section, which is Float does some different things with its marketing, and one of those things is we've purposefully tried to not have very much of an ad spend. And as far as I know people like centers, and we're one of them, who often don't spend more than $50 or $100 on ads per month.
We've gone months without spending money on Facebook ads.
Yeah, 0 is even an option on there. Well, it wasn't, but I'm putting it on there. 0 is what we do. And I know people who spend $500, and I have talked to at least 2 centers who spend around $5,000 per month on Facebook ads. So all of those are ranges that people spend, and beyond just there being a return on investment. If you're spending $5,000 and that's making you $25,000, great. I'd call that a successful ad, as long as you're not taking into floats that would have already been filled. And if you're spending $50 and you're just trying to build awareness and it brings you only $10 back in, that can still be a successful ad as well, because you're spending money to get more awareness out there, and like Derek said, playing a longer game. So both results-wise and amount of money spent-wise, there's not one correct answer is kind of what I'd say.
And then some of this definitely ties into, again, like stuff in previous episodes too. Like I think the vanity metrics one is a really interesting thing to think about when you start thinking about paying for ads, because the more you've kind of artificially boosted the people liking your page, all of a sudden you have to start spending a lot more ad spend to reach those people, because you're naturally only reaching a smaller percentage of people that actually would probably like your page. So, these things kind of tie into each other. It's like the amount, like having your ad spend be more effective is another benefit of not artificially boosting your numbers up.
So I'm going to be contrarian for a second, because apparently that's my thing now. And, social media, this is social media week, and it's important because it's what everybody's talking about when it comes to building a business.
Sorry, for a second I thought you actually meant it was like National Social Media Week. I'm like, oh really? We're launching these at the exact right time.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second, no, it's our social
and
media
you
week.
say I break the fourth wall. What are you talking about? So
It's funny.
it is. So it's National Float Tank Solutions Social Media Week. And social media is just one channel in a multi-channel approach for Float On. So when we talk about we spend $0 some months, it doesn't mean we're not doing any marketing. We might have a community program going on. We might be doing actual outreach to people in CrossFit gyms or MMA gyms that we want to offer floats to, and are giving away free floats. And so if you're doing a lot of community involvement, you could probably get away with not that much in Facebook ads. But if you're doing no radio, no television, no community outreach, no whatever else is out there, door to door, then I guess the only thing you have left is Facebook ads, and maybe you should put $5,000 a month on a very strategic plan. But you could save yourself that money with a little bit more legwork, door to door, elbow grease, and every other term out there, and build your business without somebody else's platform, right? So we're talking about social media and Facebook and doing Facebook ads. If Facebook went away, how do we market? If Facebook ads got twice as expensive because the inventory of Facebook ads reduced, or everybody decided to do Facebook ads, Facebook only has so many placements. They only want to show an ad every 3 posts. It used to be every 6 posts, so they doubled their ad inventory. But guess what? What if 3 posts got backlash, and now Facebook's going to go down back to once every 6 posts show you an ad, and now the ads are 3 times as expensive. So when you're building your marketing strategy completely around one platform or even 3 platforms, and you're putting all your money behind it, and then that platform changes rules or goes away, what you going to do? So
yeah, I've heard the expression building under a bulldozer.
Right.
Like building on someone else's platform is a little bit like constructing a house just right by a bulldozer that's ready to move forward at any moment and kind of wipe out the work that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, like you used to be able to get things out of Facebook for free that you now have to pay for.
Right. And I said
like you didn't have to spend this much money before to even reach the same amount of people you could reach before for free.
And I said a very similar thing at the marketing forum last year at the conference, which plug our episodes on the Float Conference podcast that you can go back and listen to. We did 7 hours of the marketing forum, and I said towards the end that like social media is great and it's important. It's what gets us some leverage for not that much money, but if it goes away, what are you going to do? So the most important thing is actually being a person in your community, being out there, getting involved in, yoga studios, CrossFit gyms, whatever the case may be, doctors' offices, massage therapists, and be a member of your community. You'll have stronger bonds and longer term success than just throwing money at Facebook. So there is no right answer as how much money you should spend, but if you're doing nothing, I guess spend as spend as much as you can on Facebook.
And the more you spend, I think the more important it is to watch that return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
Like this idea of not caring about our results as much for like $50 per month. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like $50, you can throw that and you're building some awareness. It's less than the cost of a float. But if you're spending $5,000 per month and you're like, oh, it's just building awareness, like that would make me very nervous.
Yeah.
Like the second you
It's a
start,
huge part of your budget.
Yeah.
you start getting high enough in spend, and it's like that better have a return on investment. Like you better at least be breaking even
Right.
on that money you're tossing in there, like in terms of people coming and then paying you for floats based on your advertising. Otherwise, you're bringing in an audience and like you're pretty much paying people to come float.
It's kind of like
at
the
that point.
investment strategy of like only be willing to invest what you're willing to lose. Like when like the crypto market or even tech investing, you hear that adage where it's like, if you're going to put in a lot of money, be willing to lose that money. Don't bet on that it's going to give you a return. So again, I always go back to start small, test, get the return on ad spend, keep tweaking those numbers, keep tweaking your content, and try to get some good ads, and then you'll know what amount you can spend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, good.
You may not know the answer to this, but how much do you think like a company like Red Bull or something like that spends on a monthly basis on?
So I have a
Facebook
friend
ads.
that does a consulting business,
Uh-huh.
and he is kind of in that whole info product sphere, really similar to Float Tank Solutions, where he's doing courses and products and so forth. He spends about $2 million a month on Facebook ads,
$2
and he's
million a month?
$2 million a month on Facebook ads, and he's one dude with like 3 contractors and 4 employees, so like 7 people in his company. He spends $2 million a month on Facebook ads. But guess what? They're super good at numbers, and they know exactly that $2 million is going to garner them $12 million in return, and so they can spend. But if you're looking at a company like Red Bull, and I think Graham might be looking it up, I would, if we're playing the game, I would say in the monthly Facebook ad budget, $20 million a month.
Yeah, I don't know. I was
Okay.
trying to do some quick Google stats on that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of their content for videos and photo shoots and stuff like that, they're spending millions just for the content.
Right.
Plus the
just to put it
advertising
on that.
budget going into. I mean, but that's what Red Bull does. They recognize they
Right.
make an essentially cheap product, which is an energy drink that costs them probably cents per drink plus the can to manufacture. And then
But you know
that's
what?
it. Then their cost goes into advertising. I mean, they're famous.
They might
for
not be
so
spending
much.
much on ads because they put so much into the production of such high quality content that gets shared, and that like
It's natural,
this
organic.
natural,
yeah.
organic. It's skydiving videos, and people are just going to YouTube that all day. And guess what? People are going to share that ad on or that post on
And
Facebook.
it makes sense because it's a nationally distributed product.
Right.
Like you just
So
can't, as a local service-based business,
can't
like
rely
we
on
don't
that.
have that ability or that luxury. If you were starting to think maybe I should go for that $5 million number, I know we said there might not be an upper
Disclaimer.
limit, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say don't spend $5 million a month on Facebook ads for your center.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, there's just no way to make $6 million of income through floats in your float center in a month. Like, you have a natural limit to how many
other than like
possible floats you could even
extortion or
do.
something like that, but it's really that's getting into like at least gray hat
laundering,
marketing. Yeah.
laundering maybe.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
Yeah.
There is no right answer. That always makes me feel comfortable. It means we can't have stumbled across a wrong one necessarily.
Yeah,
I'm sure we've
and
done that
more than
too.
anything. Like, pay attention. Don't just artificially spend huge amounts of money and sit back and be like, "Good, I did my advertising."
It's why coupons exist in the first place. I mean, now we have like the Facebook pixel, so we can monitor things more precisely. But when it was just ads in paper, they're not like giving coupons because they think that 20 cents off Coca-Cola is going to spur on that many more people to buy. Like, they do 20 cents off so they know if people are reading that paper and they're getting a return on investment. So
Coupon code in the
nothing
bottom
new.
corner.
People have been tracking
Yeah.
this for over 100 years of like what they're actually getting back for ad spends. And Facebook makes it so easy now, there's no excuse for not actually seeing what the result of putting your ads out there. Otherwise, again, you're just kind of throwing money into a black hole and crossing your fingers, which is...
And be patient. It's a long-term game, even for ads. Like, there is warming an audience up to the concept of buying. And if you're the first month in and you spent $200 on Facebook ads, you didn't get a single float, but you got some fans, you got some more engagement, keep at it. Like, very much test different content, test different audiences, but don't give up after the first $200 fails.
So what would you say is a good timeline for that, for kind of buttering up your audience or getting them... Like, if after 3 months you're still releasing ads and getting no results, is that...
I would say after 3 months. I mean, we can get in a whole strategic plan, right? Like, if you wanted to plan, a 3-month
Take out your pencils and paper, everyone.
And if you wanted to plan a 3-month ad strategy, hopefully you're doing Facebook ads before you open. But let's say you're opening tomorrow and you're just listening to this podcast.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. So start with just warming people up to the idea of what floating is, and don't worry about that you're making money off of this, because it's about just getting the awareness that maybe you're the first float center in town and nobody knows what it is. You have a lot harder work to get people to understand what floating is.
Yeah.
A lot of education. Maybe you're the fourth float center in town and some of that groundwork's already been laid down, but you still have to let people know you exist. So you just have to get through that maybe month 1. Then month 2 could be testing out some promotions after you've built an audience up, because you want an audience to put out a promotion to kind of have somebody to say something to. And then maybe after that you go for the hardcore, straight price sale. So you get them educated, you warm them up, and then when they're hot leads, they don't need a discount. They're already going to come back and buy.
I think part of the nice thing of having some longer term strategies and playing with things is finding your own baseline too. It's hard to look at other centers. Like, there's so many variables when people make their own content and their own audiences and their own brand styles and the way they communicate and all that stuff, that you almost need to build up some of your own numbers to be able to reference against those numbers as you go into the future.
It's very hard to see from the outside looking in what works for somebody's marketing, and so you might see that post and go, wow, they got a lot of comments on that post. You don't know if they boosted it or not. Just test, start small.
Maybe they invested $5 million. That's what got it up to
work through the life
cycle.
cycle. Work through the life cycle. Cold leads to warm them up to they're hot. All you have to do is just say you exist and they're willing to come.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we got one more day of social media goodness for you guys tomorrow, so stay tuned for that.
And in the meantime, if you have your own marketing questions or any questions at all about floating, anything, life preferences, astrological signs, go to
Probably not astro. We won't know very much about that.
flotationastrology.com
Ashcon's
/podcast.
beard strategy.
go to floatanksolutions.com. Hang out there for a little bit, check it out, and when you're ready, go to /podcast and shoot us some questions.
And we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We love you.